Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I am Brad, here with Doug.
Hey.
We both got to experience what is possibly my new favorite PSVR thing, which is the Iron Man VR demo.
Uh-huh.
You don't quite seem as enthused as me.
No, I've actually been thinking about this. I'm wondering if my impressions were colored by the fact it took me a half hour to set up my PSVR. Just to be clear, you would hype this up as like the greatest gift to like mankind since Astrobot. So I was like, all right,
it is
gonna
the best
pull the
VR
thing out, blow the dust off the PSVR, and set this thing up.
And it is so worth it for the 25 minutes of amazing demo that this thing is. See. Your issue is that if it takes you a half hour, it took you longer to do that than to play the game.
It did. But I also don't want to be. This is like a power fantasy. It's not the right word, but it's just like a fantasy to be Iron Man, right?
And it works.
But if you don't want to be Iron Man,
I mean, Batman Arkham worked because everybody wants to be Batman. This works because everybody wants to be Iron Man.
Okay. I am the 1%.
It's not, okay, but I think the thing that you're missing is just how cool this is, because Batman Arkham is initially awesome. I haven't gone back to it recently, but going back to that because it's so much of the point and click movement, I don't feel like that would feel the same way that Iron Man VR does. From the second this thing starts, where you're like, oh, let me test out my armor, and it's doing the like, oh, tilt your hands, because you tilt your hands backwards to go, and you pull them up in front of you to shoot things, and it's mapped so perfectly, even with the like shitty little move controllers, that I mean, I can't imagine playing it on a better VR, but even with the PSVR move controllers, it feels so good to move your hands around, and just that first, the way it starts is that it's that Spider-Man scene where Spider-Man, every Spider-Man is going to start with him going like, oh man, this is stuck to me. Oh man, this is stuck to me. And oh man, I broke some stuff.
That's a good point.
And it starts with that like, oh god, I'm wobbling. And the whole time you hear Tony start going like, oh, I think we got it. There we go. And it's that perfect feeling of like, this is what it's like to test out this armor that you've seen so many times in the movies, you read about so many times in the comics. This is how Iron Man should start.
That is super clever, because I think they're contextualizing how bad you're going to be at the controls to begin with.
Exactly. And it fits.
That is actually pretty cool now that I think about it.
And it's just that like, and then you do like the weird like, okay, I'm just going to fly straight. The first thing you do after you get up in the air is you just fly straight across like a lake or ocean or wherever his house is on, and you fly to his house. And you get this feeling like, okay, I got it. I'm flying. This is how we fly. And when you get there and you have to do the little tutorial section flying around the little islands, you kind of get that like, okay, still learning.
Yeah, that's true.
Before it throws you into the game. And I think I don't remember the time skip. There's a time skip of a couple of years. So
something like that, yeah.
So the tutorial contextualizes it like, oh, you're just trying to figure out Iron Man. And then like, okay, you got a little bit of a handle on it. Now you're superhero Iron Man.
Yeah. That's a really good shoot. I didn't realize how shoot. There's a lot of cool stuff in this. It wasn't hitting that like lizard part of my brain of like want to be Iron Man sort of thing. I didn't have any nostalgia for it sort of thing. But I do think there's a lot of cool, clever stuff like what you're saying with the intro. I also like that when you're flying in on the intro, or is it? I think it's maybe. I'm not sure it's the intro, but it's like a little bit later when you're like flying through, and they're doing kind of like a movie title scroll.
Yeah, that's in the intro as you fly across, and you get the Marvel logo flying at you, and Sony Interactive Entertainment, and I don't remember the company offhand that developed it, but you see their logo and.
Yeah, but it was just cool because it did feel like Iron Man, and like I will definitely say it's really cool when you see like the interface pop up and that sort of thing. I think the one thing like we were talking about, like I really appreciate how weird the controls are in this game. Like this game could have been just a very normal controlling video game, but it's like, no, it's like, okay, you need to use your hands to stabilize yourself like Iron Man would. And it's really weird and awkward at first, and then it's like, okay. And then you kind of figure it out, and you do kind of feel like a badass by the end of the demo. That's a good point. Yeah.
And I think that when you initially saw this trailer, everybody's like, oh, it's just some stupid on-rails Iron Man game. Because that's what it looks like. If you're just looking at this game, if you're trying to watch a trailer, and it's the issue that VR has so often, if you're just trying to watch the trailer, it just looks like it's just pointing me in this direction. I mean, I was spinning around, and it gives you little warnings like, hey, you've turned around a couple times, like check the cord under your feet, because the whole time you're spinning, you're going up and down, you're looking all over, and it works so well. And there's so much in this that if you go back and you look about what we talked about when VR started becoming a thing, when we first got those PSVRs and we were doing Batman and we were doing these things, we were talking about how the key thing with VR, the first step is always getting you to feel like that character. Like, how does this contextualize me being it? Between that beginning of the shakiness and then even there's, again, that classic Iron Man scene where somewhere or another that armor is going to fly at you.
That was cool. That was cool.
And it's spoilers for demo, so I'm not even going to worry about it. But when you get ripped out of the plane, and you do that, and it's hold your right hand up, and then boom, and you kind of get the sound effect, and the screen goes, and you instinctively pull your hand back because you know that's what he'd do. You do both hands, you do the chest piece, you do all this stuff, and it gives you that feeling like, all right, here we go, let's do this.
I think this is it's kind of funny because I forgot what game we were talking about recently where it just feels like a 10 all the time, and then anytime it feels like it's faltered a little bit, you just notice it that little bit more. And that's kind of what I felt with this one, because in that scene before, it's like, open up the case, Tony, and like my hand's like wobbling in front of me as I'm trying to reach for the case. Yep. It's like, I think I got it, because it is cool, because like those moments you're saying, like when you like stick out your hand and then the armor comes flying from space or whatever and gets in your hand like that, they nailed that perfectly. Yeah. So like, but there's like so many points in this where I was just like, oh, I just wish this was like a little bit better, just a little bit better graphics, a little bit better this, because you kept having these really, really high highs. Yep. That I was just kind of like the entire time, it's like, I want to have more of these high highs, but they just can't do that for like an entire game.
And I think part of that's the PSVR effect versus like whatever PC version of VR is out there right now, where it's super high def. You've got the individual sensor points and all these other junk that I don't really understand, because I've just got my basics for my little camera for my PSVR. So I do think it suffers from that a little bit, where if you put it on some of those more advanced VR systems, it would be a little bit better.
Yeah. Sure.
And then I think as well, it struggles a little bit because it is only about 25, maybe 30 minutes for the demo.
Sure.
I think even by the end, I still didn't quite have the controls down.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where like you can definitely feel your progression, but in a demo, you definitely don't get to the point where you feel confident in what you're doing. There's one point where you have to run around and fix the engines and go up to the engines and restart them. And I swear I went back and forth across that engine, like just trying to get to the right spot. And nope, a little low, a little high. Because it does take a little bit to get used to. And once you get it, I think it will work really, really well. And I'm excited to play this full game, so that by the time you get to 3 hours and 4 hours, and I don't know how long this thing's going to be, you have that sense of, okay, I got this. I can control, because I never had the sense that the controls were bad. I had the sense that I was bad at the controls.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. I think it is cool, because it seems like a really daring thing that they did, because like when the controls, like when you do kind of get the controls, there are some like really neat moments, like where like you're holding down one hand to stabilize yourself and then shooting with the other hand, and then realizing you've kind of stabilized yourself to pull up both hands to start shooting. It's just like it's really, really satisfying. As like, if you're kind of getting the flicking around the camera and stuff, is like you're getting guys all around you. It definitely does. Like there are definitely points where it's like, oh, they did get that feeling of Iron Man. I think to me, it's just like, I'm not super into that like universe. So it's kind of like, I'm kind of like back and forth on like one thing is like, I just think they really nailed this experience of being Iron Man, but do I personally want to be Iron Man? And I just think that like you being a person who wants to, like, who doesn't want to be Iron Man though? I mean, besides me.
One person out of 6 billion.
Yeah, and it's just cool. It's cool seeing like another sort of like triple A VR game, because I mean, as far as like PlayStation VR, it's like, it seems like they kind of come once a blue moon sort of thing. So it is kind of neat to see that. So are you going to get this like a day one thing? Are you like just okay?
Yeah, and I think you make a good point. I think it's the thing with VR a lot is you have to be interested in the subject matter a lot more than a typical game.
Oh, that's a good...
Because if you're not interested in Iron Man, the whole thing is like, you're in the mindset of being Iron Man. There have been a couple other games that I've played, and I'm trying to think of one that comes to mind, where it's just like, I'm not interested in being the tough, hard-nosed detective. Like, that's not interesting to me. So I'm thinking of like the London Heist demo. It's like, okay, there were a couple of scenes where I'm like, I'm sure if I was into this kind of stuff, this would be cool, but can I just let's wrap this up. And I think because of
that's interesting.
Not necessarily the uncomfortableness, but the bulk of having that thing on your head, you have to be really into the experience in order to kind of really get the full effect. So if you're not, I think that's going to temper your feelings about it a little bit, just because you're like, okay, I did all, like you said, I had to get out my PSVR, put this damn thing on. I can't check my phone on a loading screen, because you're not fully versed. You're not in that mindset of like, oh my God, I'm Iron Man, which I think is where Batman Arkham, obviously Batman, I think a little bit more popular than Iron Man. It has a little bit more of that like be Batman than this does. So I do think that affects it a little bit from point of view.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I feel like I wish like we could play like more VR games just in general, but I think like kind of being hampered by PSVR is more the issue. But that is interesting with like the subject matter can really impact it, because like the thing with Astrobot and stuff, it's like you just like this idea of a little action figure running around, it's just like a fun thing to be in. Or if it's like a horror game like Resident Evil 7, like it's like I hate this. Like I absolutely hate this.
Yes, exactly.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's a good point.
But I think to your point, it is cool to see these kind of AAA experiences on PSVR. It's something that doesn't come around a lot. I love the fact that they give you a demo for this, because this is something that I was like, oh God, that's going to suck. I have no interest in that. I was like, oh, sure. Free demo. And now I'm just eagerly anticipating this game.
Yeah, it easily sounds like something that could be a cash grab, but it actually seems like, no, there's like some real Marvel money and talent.
Yeah, for sure.
But here, yeah.
But I don't remember when this comes out. It comes out soon, though. I will be checking it out, so we'll for sure be talking about the full version when it comes out.
Cool.
But check it out. It's free on PSVR. I think it's, PSVR exclusive. So if you're one of those people with the fancy VR, tough luck.
Yeah.
You get,
so weird. It shouldn't be.
You get so many other cool things that we don't. Anyway, we are Workforce Gaming. You can follow us on Twitter at Workforce Gaming. Subscribe to us wherever you're listening. And we'll see you later.
Bye.